I think the biggest difference between a successful project and a project that's struggling is determined in the beginning of a project life cycle. So, first, we need to have a clear scope definition and we have to have alignment between the stakeholders that are on the project. This means the technical team, the consultants, the engineers, the construction teams, basically consisting out of subcontractors, to whatever local authorities might need to be involved in the project, as well as the client. So we need to have a really clear definition of the scope and make sure that all the parties that are involved on the project or that are affected by the project are aligned. And then, secondly, we need to do realistic planning because a lot of projects struggle because the projects might be politically driven. We might not have the real agenda of the project, and financial pressures can also affect operational realities of projects. So the project the program really needs to be built around realistic productive rates, realistic resource availability, etc. So those are some of the important components.
Yeah, those are indeed important. A lot of success or failure begins at the beginning of the project. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Are you working mainly with greenfield projects, new construction, or these brownfield projects where you're working with existing facilities?
Well, currently we have a mix of both. The biggest project that I've worked on so far was a bit of a mix of greenfields and brownfields, but I can say 90 or 80% greenfields and then brownfields. And then, yeah, so in our current environment, we do have projects where we integrate into existing projects just to increase the lifespan of existing facilities and existing infrastructure and production facilities.
Okay. So when you're looking at these projects and you mentioned having a realistic schedule, and I've seen that before. I worked for a couple of years with the Project Production Institute, which works with similar construction projects. Schedule realism is an issue. How do you look at a schedule and determine whether it's actually achievable versus being, as you mentioned, a political goal?
Look, if we start a project, we need to be honest and realistic about the resources we have. We need to look at the procurement strategies that we are implementing. We look at the lead times, etc. Because certain projects don't happen on facilities that are close to industrialized areas where you can, order equipment, important equipment and materials that you need for your construction or off the shelf. So you need to look at your lead times. You need to understand the physicality or your geographical location of your site, because some of the sites are quite remote and they will need you to order equipment, well in advance. You will also have to look at the sequencing of your activities, be really strategic about how you logically sequence the activities and also taking risk into account. There are multiple risks that arise in project or construction projects. And if we don't have any risk allowance, we are really setting ourselves up for failure. So we need to look at your geographical dispensation, you look at your resources, you also need to understand the climate, because these are small things that can affect your schedule. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you're working outdoors, so weather is a source of variability.